Now I'm going to make the second composition that I need. And for that I want to include a representation of the clock, but not the actual clock in terms of all of its separate layers. And that might sound a little confusing, but what I'm going to do is select all and do copy merged so that I have all the layers represented on the clipboard. Now I'm going to go File, New, and I'm going to create a file that is the dimensions that I want to produce the video in. So under Film and Video, there are a number of different presets for different video standards. The time-honored NTSC format, which is what video was, standard definition video from the 1920s, and still is part of the high definition standard, but this is your standard definition. NTSC, like we use in America, PAL, as used in Britain, other parts of Europe, and countries that were once British colonies tend to have this standard, like India and Pakistan, a lot of the Middle East. But we're going to be working in high definition 720p, which is 1280 pixels wide, 720 pixels tall. And I'll go ahead and create a background with that, even though I'm going to be replacing it. So now that we have the background, I'm going to paste in my clock face, and I'll go ahead and call that clock. Just call it clock. And now I'm going to make a composition using this. What I'm going to do is shrink this down and create a layout for how I want my animation to look. If I look at the information up here, if I want it perfectly centered, for instance, I could put in, well, half of 1280 is 640. So I'll go ahead and position it like that. And sitting here on my action safe guide is a reasonable place for that to be. I do want to be a little more precise here and set my scaling to 25%. Move it down. Alright, so that looks reasonable to me. And the other thing I want is a pendulum arm for this to swing on. So I'm just going to create an arm that's about the width I want. I'm going to fill that with my same brown color that I'm using over here. I think I'll go ahead and put the same bevel and emboss on this that I was using on everything else. Or maybe adjust it a little bit. Make it a little more visible. Alright. With that done, I'm going to move it up, and I am going to put it, I'm going to call this arm for pendulum arm, and I'm going to put it behind the clock face so it's showing behind it. And we're almost done. We have a named layer called clock, one called arm, and one that's the background. Now if I want to give this file to someone to create this animation together with the storyboard, I might want to do something in the background to show a style that I might be thinking with. So with the background selected, I'm going to go ahead and create a little color scheme here. Maybe I'm thinking of something like this for a color scheme. So I'm going to fill the background. Then I'm going to go up to Filter and render some clouds. Now, clouds in Photoshop use a fractal noise, and they're backgrounds in After Effects that allow you to animate very similar sorts of things. So I'm just going to throw a fractal noise cloud in the background just to suggest the color scheme and the kind of patterning that I'm imagining. And we're good. So I have a background that I'm going to be replacing in After Effects. We have the pendulum arm positioned on the screen and the clock face that's a stand-in for this clock face. All right, so I'm going to save this. I did not name this one. Okay, so I'm going to do save as and put in the name clock.psd, clock to differentiate it from clock face. And I have the files that I need to animate in After Effects.